And the Honorable...
Sorry, Senior Counsel. I think, CJ, allow me to say this. As much as possible, let us do matters within this court. I think the debate out there is convoluting matters. And when we see documents being circulated outside the court, it only just inflames the public. Let us please keep matters right here. Let's manage our issues right here until we finish. That's all I'm saying in answer to Mr. Gumbo's concerns. But as far as the court is concerned, we're on top of things. I thank you.
Madam Chief Justice and the Honorable learned members of the court, I am Githu Muigai, and I appear for the IEBC, for its chairman, Wafula Chebukati, and for Commissioner Professor Abdi Yakub Gulei and Boya Molu. I am assisted in the defense of this gentleman and the institution by Kamau Karori, Senior Counsel, Abdikadir Hussein Mohammed, Senior Counsel, Mr. Eric Gumbo, Mr. Mahat Somane, Dr. William Mutumbwa, and Mr. Peter Wanyama. I would like to request you, Madam Chief Justice, if you could kindly confirm that our combined team has 4 hours, our 3 hours, plus the 1 hour between the 2 commissioners who are represented by our team.
That is not correct, Prof. The 2 commissioners have 30 minutes. You remember the other 4 commissioners and 15 minutes each. They are 1 hour among the 4 of them. So you have 3.5 hours. I'm
guided by you, my lady, and I have changed that to 3.5 hours. Thank you. We have filed before you a wide range of documentation, which in our very humble view is very, very comprehensive. We draw your attention, honorable members of the court, the responses on behalf of the chairperson and IEBC, the affidavit of Wafula Chebukati, the affidavit of Marjan Hussein Marjan, the CEO, the affidavit of Professor Abdu Yakub Gulei, the affidavit of Commissioner Moya Mulu, the affidavit of Martin Washira Nyaga, the database administrator, the affidavit of Michael Ouma, the director of ICT, the affidavit of Moses Lendema Senkuli, the acting director voter registration, and affidavits filed by presiding officers and residing officers of the contested polling stations and constituencies. Let me start, my lady Chief Justice, by observing the peculiar nature of the proceedings before this court. That is to say, these are proceedings that are based on affidavit evidence. And we all appreciate the limitations that has. That we have persons who have sworn affidavits who are not available to court to be cross-examined on their allegations. And some of the allegations we have had, as we shall demonstrate in the course of our submissions, are outrageous, to say the least. My lords and ladies, we have been here before you. Some of us have had the great privilege of being here before you in 2013, in 2017, twice. And this honorable court must take credit, I think, unparalleled in anywhere in the Commonwealth, in my humble learning of the subject, in helping to clarify how the electoral process in Kenya should be conducted. And we submit that the clarifications that this court has given since 2013 have enriched the conduct of the electoral process. And it is my first submission that the IEBC and its chairman conducted the 9th August 2022 presidential elections strictly in compliance with the guidelines that this court has given. My lords, since the annulment of the presidential election in 2017, IEBC overhauled its entire electoral process procedures to align those procedures with the guidelines that my lords had given. Your decision in the minor care, the decision of the Court of Appeal in the minor care case set out the guidelines for the protection of the ballot at the polling station, the transmission, tallying, and declaration of presidential results. We have abided by that decision. Your decision, my lords, in Raila Odinga versus IEBC petition number 1 of 2017 rendered even more detailed clarifications on the procedure. The decision in the National Super Alliance versus the Independent Commission gave further clarification as to the very controversial issue up to that time of how to handle complementary voting. And again, we learned from that and we have used that in this election. Since 2017, over the last 5 years, the IEBC undertook post-election evaluation. It reviewed its strategic plan. It developed an elections operations plan, a boundaries review operations plan, continuous registration of voters, and several other measures that flowed from the guidance that this court had given. My ladies and my lords, in the cases that have brought us before you previously, we had numerous arguments about jurisprudence. What does the law mean? What do the regulations mean? What does the Act say? The petition now before you has absolutely nothing to do with any legal lacuna, because you have spoken so loudly on that subject previously. Although my learned friend, Mr. Karori, will be reiterating what you have said as regards Article 183, your own thoughts on the subject are very well laid out in your previous judgment. This, my lord, is a petition about facts. It's a petition about what happened. What happened, when, where, with what consequences. And therefore, ultimately, notwithstanding the very lucid and learned and honest arguments by my very learned friends to my right, this petition is about numbers. It is ultimately about numbers. The petitioners have tried to argue every other point except numbers. I will be demonstrating to you, my lady, my lords, in a short while, that we conducted a proper, fair, constitutional, legal, impartial election. My learned friend, Mr. Kamau Karori, will follow me, and he will get back to the parameters that you have set. Mr. Eric Gumbo will talk about, that's Mr. Karori will answer, and this is very important, my lords. We do not want to waste our 3 hours perambulating around every conceivable issue in this petition. We will be answering the questions you asked us. Mr. Kamau Karori will answer question 4, 6, and 8. And that will be a submission about the electoral process. My learned colleague, Eric Gumbo, will answer question 1, 2, and 3, and that's about the technology. My learned friend, Mr. Mahat Somane, will answer question 4, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 8. And I do not want to belittle the rest of our effort, but that is the man who will explain that numbers don't lie, that numbers speak for themselves. Mr. Abdikadir Mohammed, Senior Counsel, will address you on the burden of proof and the standard of proof and whether the reliefs sought by the petitioners can be granted in this matter. If we still have time, as we hope we shall, Dr. Mutumbwa and Peter Wanyama will address you on this issue that seems to be in the fridges, but in our view, totally inconsequential, of the KPMG report and the alleged problems with the voter registrar. Let me start by saying, my lords, you have been urged by several counsel who have spoken before me to find that this election was irretrievably flawed. That from the word go, one counsel said, and I quote, everything that could go wrong went wrong. If that be true, and we deny that that is true, then it would mean that everything from voter registration, voter education, procurement, nomination, voting, counting, tallying, verification, and declaration was totally flawed. What would be the consequence of that? First of all, and I say this with the most tremendous respect, first of all, you have been addressed by counsel of great eminence, including my learned senior James Orengo, my learned junior Professor Tom Ojenda. In this court, my lords, as we sit here this morning, there are no less than 3 governors addressing you elected under this election. There are no less than 4 senators elected under this election. And there are no less than 4 members of parliament elected under this election. When, my lords, it is not in my place to suggest the questions you should put to counsel, but I would plead with you to put that question to counsel when they return to the podium. Are they happy with their own election? If they are, how then is it that this election is irredeemably flawed? I suggest with tremendous respect that that is the use of hyperbole. This election was conducted, as most international observers observed, it was the fairest. All observers came back with one conclusion. This was an open, transparent election. Was it a perfect election? No, because there is nothing like a perfect election. This is an election conducted by human beings, and there are human errors within the electoral process. Were the few errors that are admitted by IEBC of a magnitude to allow this court to set aside the election it is our humble submission that the answer is no. It has not been demonstrated, and my learned friend, Mr. Abdi Kadir, will deal with that matter. Let me point out to you, my lords, that this is one of the few petitions that this court has seen that is full of generalities, innuendos, hypothecations. Yeah. We believe there was one counsel who repeated several times, our theory is, our take is, our understanding is, not evidence, nothing of probative value, speculation, generalization. It is our very humble submission that, framed in those general speculative terms, lacking clear, cogent, probable evidence, these petitions lack merit. It is made worse, my ladies and my lords, by the fact that the petitions make grave allegations of a criminal nature: fraud, tampering with election materials and results, conspiracy to unlawfully influence an election outcome, and even implied treason. Implied treason. All that without a shred of evidence. All that without a shred of evidence, especially as it relates to the Honorable Chebukati, the chairman of the commission.